My name is Jim Sigafus. I'm the chairman of the management committee, and tonight we wanted to make a short video um, to discuss the proposed deer management plans that we're proposing to implement in Hideaway Hills. So along with me is Mary Beth Fisher, board member, and she'll be asking some questions to kind of MC this a little bit here. So we'll plan on keeping this pretty short. So a little history about Hideaway used to allow hunting back when it was sparsely populated, but back in the 60s, I've been told there was hardly any deer in Hideaway. Fast forward 50 some years, we have an exploding population of white-tailed deer in Hideaway Hills. Normally, three things take care of a deer population, keep it kind of in check in its own ecosystem, typically hunting, predation, and vehicle collisions. We have no hunting in Hideaway. Some deer do wander out and are killed that way, but we have very little predators and very little vehicle accidents within Hideaway. So the deer here are pretty safe. You typically see doe mothers with triplets, and the population's exploding. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon to go look at our golf course and see 30, 35 deer in different groups. And the problem is that what that creates is the deer are actually ruining their own ecosystem by eating up the available food sources within Hideaway. I know it feels good to feed the deer, but when you feed the deer, you actually draw more in, and so that just kind of compounds the problem that we're having. Based on the number of overpopulated deer we've had, the management committee and some concerned members have looked at some different options that could be considered to reduce this population. One of those options was some areas have tried deer sterilization. I believe when we had the Ohio Department of Natural Resources game wardens from Fairfield, Hocking County, and they said that's not very effective, and it can be upwards of $2,000 per animal to do that. So it's really not an option. So their suggestion, the best option was have a hunt during the Ohio season, and so that's what we're proposing. Several of the parks in and around Ohio, as well as several of the natural resource parks, I don't think Bach Hollow, but some of the other nature preserves do have controlled hunts because they recognize the need to keep the deer in check so they don't destroy the ecosystem. So what we're proposing, we've actually changed it up a little bit since what was originally published in the Echo, is because we've listened to some members' comments about what they felt was safe and what they were concerned about. And so what we're basically proposing is an archery equipment only hunt, and the hunt will be conducted through the month of January on specific dates, and it will follow all Ohio deer hunting regulations. There'll be no night hunting, no high power rifles. It'll all be archery equipment. That'll limit the amount of potential risk of arrows just don't fly that far. So the second part is what we're proposing is hunting a deer will be on HAH common property. Our original proposal was to do this on private property, and based on members' concerns, we've decided to do it on HAH common property. I believe what we're going to propose is hunting on Area 54, Harkin Park, North Park, potentially the golf course and the airstrip area, sort of to spread the hunt out and kind of eliminate some deer in certain areas. These areas will need to be closed to member use during the dates and the appropriate times of the hunts, and appropriate signage will be put up notifying members that these areas are closed. And we'll make sure all deer carcasses and the guts are removed as soon as possible after recovering the deer. In order to kind of keep this as safe and controlled as possible, any member wishing to participate in the hunt will need to demonstrate that they're proficient with your equipment. Security will also maintain a list of approved hunters. Hunters will be assigned a hunting spot based on the schedule we propose. The management committee and its representatives will work with the approved hunters to put up blinds and tree stands in huntable areas, as well as corn piles for bait, to try to make this go as smooth as possible. A little bit about archery hunting. Archery, people with bows typically do not, I mean, they shoot at standing deer, not deer running. They try to make it as ethical a shot as possible on a standing deer that's calm and relaxed. That way, you know, the deer it dies quickly and humanely. And that's one of the reasons why we'd want to use corn piles, just to draw the deer in. They're relaxed, they're feeding, and we can, you know, shoot them and harvest them quickly that way. We will only be shooting antlerless deer. We will not be, this is not a big buck hunt. This is going to be simply trying to control the population of these bigger deer. Our deer are, the reason they're overpopulated is our deer, we have a lot of does in here. They're bigger does. They have, you know, 1 to 2 offspring a year. These deer are not scared of people. They'll come right up on people's porches and eat off their porches. They'll eat right up by your landscaping. The population's going crazy. But what you're also seeing is the effects of that. You know, they're ruining the browse line of the woods, and that the area they live in. They're eating grass on the golf course, which they normally would not do, but they're hungry. Look at this. Look at the fawns. In this time of year, they should be really pretty good size. A lot of them are still really very small. The DNR officers noted how many the immense amount of deer we had, and how small some of the fawns were. That's an indication that the deer are not getting the adequate nutrition they need compared to deer live in areas where they're less populated and there's more food for them. Finally, we're limiting this program to members and members' children. No social guests will be allowed or tenants into this program. Still working on the dates, but we'll try to stagger out the dates that we're proposing in the different areas. Some during the week for some of our retired hunters, and some on the weekends. You know, some of us that still have to work, but trying to minimize the effect to the membership. Part of the reason of doing this in January is it's cold out, and hopefully not a lot of people are too upset about shutting down our amenities. So that's what I have. Mary Beth, do you have any questions that I can help to address?
Yeah, I do. One is, do you have any idea how many deer you're looking to manage in this fashion? I mean, is there a goal of we need to get rid of X number of deer?
I don't think there's a set goal. The problem with that was we'd have to have a set survey to know kind of how many. I'm personally hoping we can target taking out 15 to 20 deer. I think that would be a good start. At that rate, we probably need to look at doing this every year just to sort of maintain the population of deer in hideaway. Deer, especially bigger deer, will tend to have two fawns every year, and smaller ones will typically have one. So your you know, I think if we could maintain 15 to 20, eliminate 15 to 20 every year, we could help keep the population. The goal is not to eliminate the deer population hideaway. I love seeing the deer too. The goal is to keep the population in check so they don't die of disease, starvation, or you know, just basically eat their way out of living here.
So you're thinking like 15, 20 total, and each hunter, there's a limit, correct, on how much each hunter can actually shoot themselves?
Correct. You're limited in Fairfield County, which would be Area 54, North Park. Area 54, North Park. You're limited to 3 deer. The golf course, Area 54, or golf course, the airstrip, and Harkin Park are in Hocking County, and you're limited to 2 deer in those counties. So
Okay.
hypothetically, you could shoot 2 in 2 areas and 3 in the others. You could get up to 5, but I don't see that happening. We want to spread this out and make sure anybody who wants to participate that is proficient with archery equipment can participate.
Well, that leads to my next question. So how is it determined if someone's proficient in archery? Do they have some special permit, or who's making that determination?
It's basically going to be the management committee. What we'll probably do is just meet everybody down at the gun range. We'll set up targets, just make sure everyone can, number one, shoot their equipment and handle their equipment, whether it be a crossbow or a bow, that they can hit the target, at 20 to 25 yards accurately, so that we know they're proficient. And then just talk to them about, do you know how to hunt? I mean, have you ever hunted before? Do you know where to shoot a deer? If we have people in tree stands, that they know how to shoot from a tree stand, to shoot from a blind, how to shoot from a blind. And so that, not to exclude new people, this is just not a good place to teach new people how to hunt. This is targeted for people that have experience in doing this, so that we don't, trying to eliminate having wounded deer in the hills.
Right. Okay. And so will any of the shoots occur near a road? Like, is there a possibility a deer is going to get hit with an arrow and run in a road, or run onto somebody else's land? And if that happens, what occurs?
That's always a possibility with archery equipment. I can say deer are animals, and they'll move. They will, sometimes even perfect shots, they just don't go down quickly. I've had deer with crossbow shots go down in 30 yards, and sometimes they just don't. It's unfortunate, but if they die in the roads, hopefully the hunter's tracking them quickly. We can notify security and get security up there. We can get the deer off the road, get the deer taken care of, and handled accordingly. If the deer dies on another member's property, you need permission. You actually need permission to go on that person's property to get the deer. We'll make every contact. To members not home, we'll see if security can contact them to see if we can recover the deer off of their property. But at the end of the day, Ohio law is very specifically, you have to have permission to recover a deer from somebody's property.
Okay. So would you be asking like permission of people surrounding those common areas beforehand, where the deer might be likely to go? Or would that only occur if the deer goes beyond the common area and goes into someone's lot? Then you contact them and say, hey, can we come get that deer?
I think what we try to do is notify the members that surround the area where we think the deer would go. See if they're going to be okay with people coming onto their land to get the deer. Obviously, they can say no, but we're at least going to try to notify them ahead of time that, hey, we're going to hunt near Area 54. We're not going to stay away from the houses, but there's still a chance these deer could go up on your property, and just kind of try to be the best neighbors we can about this. I can't sit and say that it's not going to happen, because it probably will. Hopefully we can minimize that to the best of our ability.
What about the meat? What happens to the meat from these killings?
I won't be taking any. My freezer is full, but typically most of I'm expecting experienced hunters to take the meat and have it processed for their own consumption. Now, if I do, like myself, hunt, I will probably donate the deer to another member any other member that wants the meat. I don't need the meat myself, but Ohio law is pretty specifically, if you shoot a deer, you need to take it and use it. It's called wanton waste if you don't. So people, these deer will be taken away. They have to gut them somewhere else, but people will be using the meat, and hopefully some people will be donating, sharing some of the meat with our neighbors here in Hideaway. That's what I plan to do.
Okay. So first of all, I appreciate you letting me ask all these questions. These are
Oh, no problem.
written to the board about that I didn't know answers to, because this is a new experience for me. So I appreciate it. But one of the other questions is, where is deer field dressed? Where is the deer field? Do they send them to a processing plant, you said? And I think you also told me once when we talked about this, that there are places you can donate to charities this meat for people who need the food.
Yeah. So to field dress the deer, we're not going to let them obviously field dress on HAH common property. They need to take the deer somewhere else to have to field dress. Most hunters could do that. They can actually do it on their own property and bury it if the ground's not frozen in January, or they can take it and dispose of it properly. But we don't want that obviously in our common areas for people to have to see. But there's a lot of deer processors in this area, specifically Do Deer, Bays Meats. There's a couple down near Rock Ridge in Oroville, and I think some in Logan. I don't know all of them, but most of those places stay open through the end of January because of Ohio archery season. So members can take them there. Costs anywhere from I think some of the Amish actually do it too. Costs anywhere from $50 to $80 to have it just processed into usable meat. There is a program called Hunters Feeding the Hungry, where they have donated money to different processors, and then you donate the deer and they'll process it and donate it to a food kitchen. But I don't know yet if there's any of those around, if that program's active around here or not.
Okay.
If people do want to hunt, I can get the names of, they don't have a place to take it, and get the names of some processors that they can take it in and get their meat.
There'd probably be plenty of people at Hideaway who would be happy to have that meat, I imagine. And
I'm sure there would be.
Yeah. I think, so since you're not going to be in yard, some of my questions had to do with being in, private property.
Mm-hmm.
Won't be in confined spaces where ricochet arrows or deflection is a problem. So that deals with that. But I think you answered all the questions that I had for tonight.
Okay.
Appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
No problem. This will be discussed at the board meeting tomorrow. I'll be sharing tomorrow with the board some of the proposed dates that we're going to do so they can be made public well in advance. We'll try to put signs up if we close Area 54. We'll put a sign up that it's closed for members due to hunting, and that way we try to eliminate having any safety issues. So hopefully we can make this smooth and help our deer population by controlling the overabundance of deer.
Right.
All right.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Have a good night.
All right. Thanks.